All right, so I've mentioned a whole bunch of times that I don't want to do too much of my personal talks or whatnot, or rant and rave about what's going on in my life, or docudramas, vlog type deal for this channel. I don't want to clog the channel up with stuff about me like that. This is supposed to be about car content, right? But every once in a while something happens where it's pertinent that I do say something. Now, I talked on this twice. I gave like a holy fuck what am I going to do? And then I came back and said everything was all clear. And just like that, the situation changed again, very drastically. All right, so uh, mentioned the other day that I was getting write-ups at work and a possible suspension, and I was one write-up away from termination. And then I came back and said my boss talked to the HR, and I wasn't being suspended, and the write-ups I had weren't following in succession, so no suspension and no near risk of termination. So it went from holy fuck I should probably find a job or maybe reenlist to I'm okay again for a while. Now, within 2 weeks of that happening, I got another write-up. Yeah. So, and how it came is the most depressing of the parts, because there's one guy that I know that I've been in the company with for about 4 years. I've known him since my initial hiring at my old shop in Miami, and I wouldn't say we're close friends or anything like that, but we have gone out together and drank and once, and he's on social media, and I don't really do the employee social media thing because I don't want people knowing what the fuck I'm doing at all times that could relate back to work. But anyway, I was coming late to work the other day because my car wouldn't start. I had to jump start it, so my wife was already at the bus stop waiting for the kids. She had to come back from the bus stop to come to the house to throw cables on the car and jump it for me to get to work. Now, I wound up getting to work right around the time I normally do, but I thought I was going to be late. And because of that, I happened to be hauling ass. All right, so coming into work, there's technically 4 entrances to my job. There's the 2 entrances to the employee parking lot, then there's the big fucking fence, and then there's the entrances to the parking lot proper. Now, I happen to always park on the exit side of the employee parking lot side, right? It's the last, not even really technically a spot, but it's the last area where you can park in, and we're always full up, so that's where I normally park at. Plus, the exit gate is the gate that we normally leave open at night when we're closing shop. So instead of walking all the way across the lot and then walking back across the lot again to try and go to that side where I'm parking on, I just park right where the gate's at. The opening for the gate is right, so I park there. The particular guy that I had this trouble with, he's a shaky dude, literally, and he's nervous, and I think he's a little bit bipolar. Now, when I got into the locker room, I started changing. He came in with an attitude, and he's like, he goes, I know you're running a little bit late, but almost hit your little fucking car. Don't ever do that again. Now, right away, I have a problem with that. I don't care. We're friends, not friends. You're a supervisor or not a supervisor, whatever your place and your situation is. Somebody approaches me with an attitude like that, I'm immediately going to give you back what you're giving me. Like I've mentioned a bunch of times, I respond with what I get. You give me something like that, and I'm giving it right back to you. So in my mind, the thing I'm thinking is, who the fuck are you? First off, right? Who the fuck are you to come in here and talk to me in that tone of voice? But then there's a little bit of context of who this guy is. Like, he's not anybody important. He's just a tech. But he happens to be friends, like legit friends, with the service manager. And I have write-ups. So I'm like, keep it calm, Chris. And despite the fact that I've considered that I'm friendly with this guy. But regardless, friends or not, if a friend, I don't care how close friends we are, like you come to talk to me that way, I'm going to fucking give you some shit back. So I'm like, calm down. Don't fucking say anything stupid. Let's try and contain this and address this, so that way he doesn't go running his fucking mouth like a female. Okay, so I was like, I tried to talk to him. He's like, no, and he just walked out. I was like, okay, he's like that. He doesn't want to hear it, that kind of shit. Keep calm. Don't lose your fucking cool. So when I walked outside, and I, to address him again. No, you're wrong. You came in the exit side of the parking lot. And I was like, well, technically I didn't really come in the exit side of the parking lot because I didn't actually enter the premises of the shop. I just came in the employee side. And also the reason why I came on that side is because it rained a lot. And that whole street floods. And that particular side of the entrance of the parking lot is deep-ass water. I'm not taking my slammed fucking car through deep-ass water. That's not happening. I'm just not going to seize up my engine for that. And I'm not trying to creep through a giant puddle literally that blocks up the entire lane. So what had happened was he's driving out to take a road test, and he's road testing car. Now, company policy is 5 miles per hour. Now, I think that it was going a little bit faster than 5 miles an hour, because 5 miles per hour is literally no foot on the gas pedal, idle speed, right? But that doesn't matter, you know. But just to say, so he's coming out the gate. The nose of the tractor is out of the gate. You know, me being in a smaller, faster car, I knew I was going to get through. So I did. I just, instead of stopping and waiting for him to take his time to pull out, I went through. And, you know, whatever. I drove in through the parking lot, and then I went across, and then I go inside. Now, I went inside to park in the main proper parking lot because the car was dead when I had to jump it to get there. So I figured in a 12-minute drive, it's probably going to be dead again. I turned off the car. Then, you know, I didn't want to have to leave it outside in the outer parking lot to have to come back to it later, right? So, yeah, so the next day, the very next day, boss man's like, hey, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what the fuck is this about, man? Like, is this more problems again? He said, yep. So he explains the situation to me. He's like, hey, you know, you cut off Aaron, you came inside the parking lot. I was like, first off, I didn't really come inside the parking lot. And then I told him exactly what I told you guys. You know, and he's like, well, if you're right, this paper goes away. If you're wrong, it's a write-up and a suspension. And I'm like, he's like, do you want me to review the cameras? I was like, fuck yes, review the cameras. Now, mind you, I have no problem with admitting fault. If I did something that was wrong, I don't fight it. Sign your fucking paper, be on with it. But in that situation, I don't feel like I did. I feel like I was a lot further away from him than he thought he was. And I understand that I think he was feeling nervous because he didn't know what I was doing. And he's driving a big-ass tractor, so he slammed on the brakes because he's overreacting like females do, you know, so fine. So, but yes, challenge it, because I don't think I was that close to him. So the next day I come in, he's like, yeah, we'll review the pictures, we reviewed the cameras, and I sent screenshots to HR and everything. You know, we feel like that he was driving the proper speed, and you were wrong, you didn't give him right away, and that you should have waited for him and all that shit. Okay, fine. Sign the paper. Take my suspension. But then we're back to the situation where I was again a couple weeks ago, where I'm like, well, fuck, this is two driving suspension, this is 2 driving write-ups. Now, if it had been something like the tire, if it had been my second warning for that, then I wouldn't have felt so bad about it, because, you know, that was literally just like, the only way that John had found out about this is if somebody went and said something, and somebody I could imagine would be Aaron, the guy who fucking was pissed off at me, right? So he goes and he tells, I guess, I don't know, but at this point it's water under the fucking bridge. It doesn't even fucking matter anymore, because really, I'm smiling, I don't give a shit, alright? So, long exposition, I guess, long story, but just that's the situation behind it. And then my mindset again, like, I gotta, you know, find another job or whatever. So I'm thinking, like, well, fuck that, man, I really don't even want to do it, right? So, you know, guys, that I've constantly been working out, and I'm working my body all the time, which is a part of the reason why I haven't been so focused on this, because I've been focused on maintaining my weight, getting my strength back and all that shit, you know, focusing a lot on the gym, you know, perfecting myself. And so my normal end of the week weight is like 216 pounds. I'm usually like in the 220s around the early part of the work week, and then I generally speaking I blow up to like 230 on the weekends, because I usually hit a buffet or go out to Chili's or whatever, and I slam a fuck ton of calories, like 2,000 or 3,000 calories. and then I you know, by the time Monday rolls around, I'm back down to like 230 something, or about 230 flat, and then I wake up Tuesday morning and do my run or whatever, and I'm usually 226. So, and then of course I intermittent fast throughout the week, and I go to the gym 4 days a week, and I, you know, I'm running in the morning and running at night, plus my lifting. So like I said, I by the end of the work week, I'm usually 216 pounds, right? So, was it Monday? This weekend passed, you know, I was like, well, I'm not gonna go smash a couple thousand calories. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep my weight manageable. And Monday, when the recruiting office opens up, I'm going to go talk to the recruiter, let them tape me, because not only do I constantly check my weight throughout the week, multiple times a day, I tape myself. For those of you guys that don't know, it's you tape your neck and you tape your stomach around the navel, and that's how you know, tell body fat, right? So 28% body fat is initial entry, right? Because I'm prior service, I have to be at Army standards already. I can't have that cushion, the 4% cushion. I have to be 24% to go in. So I was like, okay, fine. So I know I need to be 24%. When I take myself, I'm getting around 39, you know, 41, depending on what part of the week it is. But let me go and see what the recruiters say, because these guys do this on a regular. They're gonna know exactly what the MEPS is gonna be looking for. So let me just do that. Plus, it's different when you're trying to check yourself versus somebody standing in front of you and wrapping you up. So Monday came. did some running around. Now my weight wasn't as low as I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be in the teens when I went to the recruiting office, but it wound up being 224. Like I woke up at like 226 or whatever. I was gonna run, try and knock off 3 pounds, but from my experience from taping myself on a regular basis, I know that 3 pounds wasn't gonna make a difference on the inches on my waist. So I just didn't eat, so I won't bloat. I'm waking up after being fasted, so I'm tight. Everything's already tight. Not as tight as it would have been if I would have ran, it would, but like I said, the inches overall wouldn't have made a difference, maybe like a half inch at most. So I figured, fuck it, let me just go in real quick, and I grabbed my DD214, went to the recruiting office, like, look, man, I'm not gonna waste your time or anything like this. Here's my shit, here's my DD214, prior service, and I'm looking to see my options here. Last time I walked into the recruiting office was a year ago. I was 275 pounds at the time. This is what I weigh now, and I checked tape, and I think I should be closer around the borderline. Let me just see what you see. So went back, hopped on a scale, weight matched up with what I thought it was gonna be, even fully dressed. So and then I got taped up, and he says, yeah, he goes, you're right on the money. He goes, so obviously I can't play with my weight, I can't go up, but I'm right where I'm gonna be at. And at 224, that's not the lowest I can be. So if I schedule going to MEPS on a Friday, I'll be lower. So and because I'm so close to the borderline, I think those guys they're not gonna fuck with me. Now if I'm like 5% over, they're gonna tell me to fuck off and go lose weight. But being that I'm like I'm at 24, 25%, that 1%, they're not gonna fuck with me. They're gonna send me through. So yeah, so I checked out, and then so I go back and sit down with him. We just had a kind of quick conversation. He's like, I was like, so what are my options? He's like, well, prior service, you have 3 options. This is why it changes year to year by needs of the Army, right? I went last year, they told me I could reclass if I wanted. They told me I could do whatever the fuck I wanted, and they told me that I would have to go to basic training, but it was like warrior transition course. It was specifically for prior service. It was a 6-week program, so I'm like, I'm down for that. It's not a problem, right? I go in there now, and there's apparently they that don't exist anymore. They've done away with it. Or anyway, I guess that's another part of the story a little further on. In the moment, he didn't tell me that. I was just like, what do I gotta do? He's like, there's 3 options. You gotta reclass. You either gotta be a cook. Fuck no, those guys are slaves. That's not happening. A cook, a Cav Scout, or infantry. And I was like, well, if I'm I'm not gonna be a cook. That's not happening. And if I'm gonna be combat arms, I'm gonna go all the way and just go 11 bang bang. Why the fuck would why would I choose a difference, right? So anyway, when I initially went to basic training in 2008, I went to Fort Jackson with females, and not to say anything bad about women or whatnot, but I do believe and I do feel when I was there in the moment that I was being the training wasn't as intense as it could have been, because we were making the difference, for the females. Drill sergeants, people are people, man. You're gonna adjust what you do based on the environment you're in, whether you think you are or not. You are adjusting to your situation. Same thing like how you would be in a job interview versus how you be with your boys. It's kind of the same thing. So I felt there were several times in basic training where I could have got more out of the basic, out of BCT if I had gone in an all-male training unit, right? And then the second time I felt like I fucking should have been, infantry was when I was in Afghanistan. I was a fucking mechanic in Afghanistan that wound up in a goddamn combat outpost that was infantry and special forces. I was one of 3 mechanics there, 2 by the end of it. And we didn't do any maintenance. It was lots and lots of security, right? So I was like, well, I should have just done combat arms. And another reason for combat arms is because the points are ridiculously low. The reason why I was going to reclass is to get away from the high-ass point range. Like, go into an MOS where the points are low. I have, when you tally up all my awards and my, awards, badges, ribbons, and certifications, I think my points tally up to around the 400 range, right? But that doesn't really help when you need 700 points to promote. And getting that many, that gap is enormous. It's I would need Warriors leadership course and WLC and shit like that, and I was never cool enough with any NCOs that were willing to push me to do that, to push me through to send me out to those programs. So it was just me to be in that situation, I wasn't gonna rack up any more points. Now the good thing is, I'm talking to this dude and he's like, yeah, he goes, for infantry, man, he's like, you've already got time and grade as an E4, so you go back in, you pass the board, you get your E5. And then there's, I was talking about, I was like, yeah, I know a lot of guys that are 25, 26 years old, and they're already E6s. because they're infantry. And then the dude popped up in the back, the recruiter in the back popped up. He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm waiting for my 7 right now. I'm 27 years old." I'm like, he's like, points are like 39 for E5. So all I gotta do is pass a PT test and pass the board. You know, like the board makes me a little nervous, you know, to kind of be on a spot like that. But whatever, you know, I think I can get through it. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to. And PT test, obviously, you know, I'm in the best shape of my life. Plus, I'm a lot older now. I'm 6 years older than when I was when I got out. So PT standards for me are like fucking ridiculous. Like I think 36 push-ups is all I need for 2 minutes, which I can do in like a minute and change. So there's that, and then there's sit-ups are like 42, which I've always been good at sit-ups because my thighs are enormous, and that's how I do my sit-ups. And then the run is like 17 and change. So now I can do airborne shuffle within 4.8, 5 miles an hour shuffle. I can run like that nonstop for an hour plus if I wanted to. Now for a dead sprint, I don't really know the fastest I've ever been able to run in a sprint because I do all my sprinting on a treadmill, and I think the fastest speed I've ever maintained on a treadmill, I think is like 9 miles per hour or some shit like that. But I feel pretty confident that if I get on the street and I just rip it off the line and I just fucking push all the way through it, that I can meet the 17-minute 2-mile mark. You know, I don't see why I couldn't be able to. Like, that's 8 minutes plus, and I know that I can do a mile in that time. You know, with just a cruising pace. So I think if I really push it through, it shouldn't be a problem. So yeah. So talking to him, I'm like, so how long would it take for me to get back in? Like, what do I got to do? He goes, how serious are you? How dedicated are you? I'm like, I'm pretty fucking serious. He said, bring me all the paperwork. We can have this done Friday. You can be in boots Friday. I'm like, well, that is cool to hear, but it's not relatively, you know, realistic for me because I have a wife and kids. So I got to start preparing on that side to get everything ready and situated. I got to worry about childcare and all that stuff. We got to see about that. So I'm thinking what's probably going to happen is there's probably going to be a little bit of a shift in my wife's schedule, so that way she can be here in the morning to get them up on the bus, because they have to be escorted to the bus. They can't just go by themselves. So they have to be put on the bus, and then I think we're probably going to work out some kind of daycare or something, which apparently the Army is willing to help with, to get them after school, like an after-school program for an hour or so my wife can finish up work and come home and pick them up. So I didn't really talk too much about, you know, like the details of it. I'm going to go back tomorrow morning to take my paperwork in and shit like that, and then we're going to talk about it then. But it was like, so I didn't really know about the whole basic training shift and all that bullshit. I just like go back in, do the thing, right? So then it was when I got home and I started talking about it again. I was like, okay, start rounding up all my paperwork, you know, get my birth certificate, high school diploma, all that bullshit. So anyway, it seems like I could be good to go here in the immediate future, and I probably will be, as long as nothing happens that would be a hiccup. I don't have any open tickets or anything like that. I haven't been arrested, or I haven't been charged with any convictions in the time that I've been out or anything like that. Nothing, no charges, no crimes charged against me or whatnot. I've never been charged with a crime since I got out, so there should be no reason to hold me up from going. So apparently with the buying the house, we got to a point where the landlord, his realtor lady, and this other guy they were helping work with credit, they were all on different pages. They were just very ignorant of what we needed to be done. My credit is like at a 590, but my FICO score dropped a little bit, I think from inquiries, and I need to get it up a little bit to buy the house. And because I just tired of dealing with Tweedledee and Tweedledum for like what I was supposed to do with my credit and shit, I backed out. And the day I backed out was the day I got the write-up. So it was kind of like a God-given thing, like, hey, don't go forward with this because you're going to be leaving. And it's just the hassle you don't need, right? So being at 590, you would imagine I have a lot of debt, right? Well, wrong. I cleared out a lot of my debt. I was on that Lexington Law shit, and they cleared. There's only 2 things that are open right now, like debt collection-wise. And it's like, they're both like $100. Like Comcast $136 and this one like $120. They're like trivial shit. So I could do that and knock up my shit a good amount of points. But the only other debt I have besides that is my Toyota that I currently have open. That's like 22 grand I owe on it now at the current time, right? So it seems like I need to open credit cards and stuff like that and actually start using credit utilization to bump up my shit a little bit. And so I'm just not ready to do that right now. I've been holding on to all of my money because, you know, I'm in the transitionary situation where I don't know where I'm going to be at or what I'm going to be doing in the immediate future. So anyway, I'm gonna go back, talk to the recruiter tomorrow, submit all my paperwork. I'm gonna double check with him all the stuff that I was reading about now. When I was saying I was reading, I was on Rally Point and a couple other places on Google checking stuff. And apparently last year at some point in time they did away with that warrior transition course. So prior service or not, I have to go back to full basic training. Which is something that I said I would never do. I was like, man, I never want to do that shit again. But at the same time too, like, looking back on it, I don't have really bad memories of it. And to be honest, I'm the only reason why I don't want to do something like that is just because I'm 32 years old, I'm prior service, a fucking combat veteran, and I really would rather not go back with a bunch of kids. And I definitely don't want to, go back with a bunch of little ass girls. It's not something I'm looking forward to when it comes to that part of it, but it's whatever. I'd be thrown right back in the grinder. I got no problem with that. I would imagine I'm gonna, like, the first time I went to basic training, I lost 30 or 40 pounds. So despite all the weight I've lost now, like, I think that I'll probably lose more because the food is garbage and I don't eat very good, and you're constantly active from sun up to sundown. So yeah, it's not like I would think that the environment would be bad for me. I would like it to be a little looser, where I'd be, where I would go back to something that's like a 9 to 5. But if it's not, it's not. It is what it is, and I'm prepared to do that. I've been thinking about the last couple of days, getting myself in the mindset, get ready to go back. So yeah, that's that. I know all the tricks the drill sergeants are gonna fucking play. I understand that smoking is something that's gonna happen to you regardless of what you do, because they're trying to get all those unfit people into shape. That's what red phase is for, is to burn off any excess fat you may have come in with, get your muscles up, get you PT ready to start meet these PT standards. Now I'm going in already PT ready. I know I'm gonna be able to pass the PT test. It's not gonna be a problem. And I understand the psychological part of it, and I'm not worried about getting smoked, because I know how to cheat my way around that. I'm not gonna. I mean, if you were to get smoked properly, like the way you're supposed to be getting smoked, like, you would die. You just can't fucking do it unless you're like an ultra marathon athlete. So I'm not worried about it. I know my ways around it. It's not gonna psychologically break me. It's gonna be fucking too easy. The way I look at it is, 10 weeks of basic training is gonna be easy fucking money. I'm going there doing physical shit, and I'm getting paid to do it. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna be getting paid like $5,000 a month while I'm gone, because the whole time I'm in training, I'm pulling BAH for fucking Fort Lauderdale, and base pays $2,600 for my time and grade, and so $5,000. I'm happy with that. That's easy money. That's a big ass raise. That's like, I'm going from $850 a week to $1,200 and change. So fuck yeah, I'm down. You want to keep me in basic training? The longer I'm in basic training, the longer I'm in AIT, that's the longer my household is racking up that fucking that $2,300 a month for a BAH, right? So I'm down. And then also I heard the infantry basic training, or infantry AIT, has gone up too. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. They're talking about, like I said, 22 fucking weeks. 22 weeks is a long time. So as far as the training goes for me being gone and shit for the channel, like, I'm gonna be potentially gone for 6 months when I go. So you guys aren't gonna be seeing shit from me until AIT, when I get a phone back. But at that point, if I talk, it's most likely gonna be on Instagram or whatnot, just as a what's up. But I'm not gonna be making any content for YouTube, I don't think. And see, like, now, like I said, the shit for prior service constantly changes, like, by need of the Army. Like, so I didn't really talk about basic training in particular with my recruiter or whatnot. He didn't say anything. So and I'm gonna talk about it again in a little bit of detail tomorrow. So for those of you guys that watch me that are prior service and are thinking about going back in, I'll have some updates for you, how things are standing right now. But yeah, you just gotta keep in mind that shit changes all the time. So if you're watching this, anyway, anybody that's gonna be watching this now, you're gonna know what's up. I don't think this is gonna be a video that's gonna pop up that you're gonna go watch it back later on in the future. But yeah, so anyway, the reason why I was saying that this kind of like rolls into my podcast is because my podcast is about weight loss and strength and training and all that bullshit, everything I did. And like, some people got confused thinking that I was specifically losing the weight to re-enlist, and that wasn't the case. Re-enlisting has always been something that's been back on the back of my mind since I was in West Virginia, just because it's a fail-safe, and that's also why a lot of people, when they hear about my disability, they're like, why the fuck you only got 10%, you need to get that boosted up. It's because I'm fucked up. Saying that I'm not fucked up is a lie. My back is fucked up permanently. I have a problem, and my knees are fucked up, but I understand my body well enough to know how to work around my problems, my disabilities, and they're not debilitating enough for me to feel like I need to go back in and raise that. And while every once in a while it affects my training, it doesn't affect my training, like my gym training and shit. It doesn't bother me enough to where it stops me from doing it. Obviously, I've made the gains, I made the change. Go to my Instagram if you want to see before and afters. Like, I've come down a lot. I've lost a lot of fucking weight, and I've gained a decent amount of muscle, right? So in my podcasting, I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional trainer or anything. I'm not gonna tell you this is what you should do. I'm gonna tell you what I did, and I'm gonna tell you that in a story format. I'm not gonna say this is what you should do. That I do. This is what I do. This is what I do for this day. Because I'm just gonna tell you what I did start to finish. That way you can see the changes I made from start to finish. And I think I started doing this shit. I would say about 2 years ago, but the weight loss thing happened last year in July. I cut weight from July to December, and I went from 275 to 205 in that period. And this year, the first quarter of the year, January, February, March, all I did was maintain weight, maintain a 220 weight. And then from April on to now, I started doing strength conditioning again and regaining my strength. And that's something that's delicate too. That's a very delicate balance to maintain. And the last time I did a big single, my 1 rep max was like 280. My 1 rep max best I've ever done is 305. And I feel that if I stick with my weight training right now, then another couple months I could be up to 300 again. But anyway, the thing is with that, the reason why I was hoping about the prior service thing is that with prior service, if it was a 9 to 5 type thing, I could do the basic training shit, and then at the end of the day when I'm released, I can go to the gym and still do strength conditioning there, because when you're in basic training, you don't have weights. There's no weightlifting there. I mean, like, I don't know, maybe you guys went to a place that had access to weights, but not mine. We didn't have any access to weights until we got the AIT, and our AIT gym that we had in the barracks was a joke. And I never, bothered to go to a gym on post at AIT, so which would change now, because I'm all about that shit. I know you can lose your gains with quickness, bro. Like I said, lifting weights is a very delicate balance to maintain. You have to be constantly at it to maintain strength and not wear your body out. So this is 26 minutes long, and it's a lot longer than I expected it to be. But yeah, I didn't want to say anything about me joining or re-enlisting without me actually being on the cusp, but technically I am. I'm filling out the paperwork. I'm going back tomorrow. It's going to get submitted, and I would imagine, and from that point, the next time I talk to my recruiter, which is going to be within a day or so, is going to be to go to MEPS, take the piss test, do the height and weight and the physical and all that bullshit. So yeah, I'm right there on it. I won't know my exact leaving date just yet. I still got to sort things out here. I guess I got to talk with my landlord, because once he finds out I'm not buying the house, I'm assuming he's going to want to put the house on the market. I don't know how it's going to be. It's going to be rough on my wife if she has to wind up moving while I'm gone. Like, it's going to be really rough, but I'm pretty sure I can, offer money to some people and work around that. On a good thing, so how this affects the channel post basic training in AIT, right? So I was worried about me going back into the Army and living that kind of lifestyle. I wouldn't be able to do this, but how the mass majority of my content is just me talking, I can literally do that anywhere in the world. Now, as far as me expanding the channel and expanding the VHP engines as a shop and building engines for people, I've built 5 engines in the past year. The stock single cam, the Vitaro single cam, and the two B20s, 2 high compression B20s, and the turbo LSV, which you guys just saw the first start of today, right? Now there's other engines I've built, but none that have gone out, right? So those engines I've built so far. Out of all 5 of those, only 2 of them have been local, the single cams, right? And I've gotten no results back yet. One's gonna be stock one, so even if it runs good, it doesn't really matter. You guys don't care about that shit. So it seems like I can safely say the majority of people that are buying performance engines from me are buying them from outside of Florida. So I can still build engines and send them out. On a plus side too, the recruiter I have is Puerto Rican, and we started talking about it, because I was wearing my CSS shirt there, and he asked about it, because he was asking about what I do as a civilian, and I told him, what I'm trying to do. And then I was like, yeah, that's one of the things I'm worried about, is I'm just trying to sell all my shit or get rid of it, before I go in. He's like, fuck that shit, man. He goes, wrap it up. They're going to send it to you, because, like, for those guys that have PCS before, that the Army sends a moving company to you. They, you have all your shit boxed up. They come to you, they pick your shit up, and they send it to your next duty station, right? So I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, if I can get away with doing that, I didn't think I would be able to. Now there's a bunch of parts that I have that are miscellaneous that I am going to offload. I'm gonna trash, right? So I'm gonna get rid of a bunch of shit, and then but my engine blocks, all that stuff, all the critical stuff like pistons, rods, engine blocks, cranks, all that shit's gonna come. Now what I imagine is gonna happen is I'm gonna go to basic training AIT, and then when I get out of AIT, I'll probably have a chunk of leave in between AIT and my first duty station report date. I would imagine it'd be 30 days. I would imagine it'd be somewhere in that range. During that time, I'll be packing up my house and getting ready for them to come move my shit. and then I'll be driving out to wherever the next place is going to be. Now, the only thing is going to be a pain in the ass to be the car, but the Integra. The TL, I'm not too worried about. If I need to, I'll just resell it. The Integra, I'm not too worried about either. Who knows, man, what's going to happen with that. I'll see if I can either have it stashed with somebody, or I might just strip it down and fucking sell the shell. It is what it is at this point. The car started, so I got the first start. The engine ran. It's just no tune. There's nothing I can do about that right now. But hopefully I'll be able to lean on Edgar and Roger a little bit more, you know, because Roger especially, because that motherfucker's, he is moving. This is the benefit of doing your own work. You know, you're your own person, like, you set your own time, and he's motivated and getting shit done. Not to say anything bad about Edgar or anything like that. You know, it is what it is. We work with what we can do. And Roger has a garage, so that helps a lot too, right? So anyway, hopefully content will be coming there or whatnot. We'll see what happens. Maybe I can work out a thing where I'm going to see this time Metro PCS works everywhere. So when I go to basic training this time, I can actually take my cell phone. Now, I don't expect that I'm going to be getting it very often, but I would imagine every once in a while they're going to let us, you know, make phone calls or whatnot. I remember when I was there in basic training the first time, they, you know, we had to get the lines by the cell phone. You get a couple minutes to talk on the phone once a week. And then after a while, I think it became such an issue with it being clogged up with lines that they gave phones out at certain times of the month, and you were allowed to spend a little bit of time to make a phone call. Because I even remember using somebody's phone to make a phone call. See, that's going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be a complication for me going, is because, like, this time I have a wife and kids. Last time I was 21 years old, and I had nothing. Like, my mom didn't even know I went. I just left. Like, my dad only knew I left because I needed my birth certificate from him. So I left, and I didn't need to worry about contacting anybody. I think the only people who are going to be really truly affected by me being gone for as potentially long as I am is going to be my kids, because I've never been gone that long. I know it really bothered my daughter when I was gone the first holiday, and it was just 2 days not being home, or 3 days. So that's going to be the difficult thing. It'll be easy for me to just keep your head down and keep on the grind. That's not a problem. That kind of mission I like, you know, when you're just being physical, right? It's gonna be the thing that's gonna suck, you know. Like when I deployed, when I went to Afghanistan, my son was only a year old, so it wasn't a problem. As a matter of fact, my only concern for my son when I came back from Afghanistan is my kid gonna know who I am. That was my concern, not like, is he gonna miss me, because I know that he didn't give a shit about that. He was a mama's boy as a baby. He didn't want anything to do with me for a long time. So that was actually a moment of, you know, great triumph when I came back, and my son actually, you know, he stared at me for a minute while I was standing there like, is this motherfucker gonna come to me? Is he gonna freak out? And then he reached out for me. Go away, boy. Go, come here.
I heard you.
See, this is him now. See, this time he knows who the fuck I am. So when I go, it'll be different.
Hey, no.
Alright, go fuck off. Anyway, guys, it's a long story. It's 32 minutes. Wow. So I'm going to do my podcast tonight, but there's some stuff I have to do before it gets too late. My wife has to go to bed soon. I need her help to do this shit. So, yeah, I'm going to take off, and I'll have updates on social media, I guess on Facebook or whatnot. I don't think I'm going to make any more videos about it, but I'll make posts about it on Facebook or whatnot for those of you guys that are prior service or interested or whatnot. Yeah, and if you're prior service and you have interest and want to go back, see, the one thing I say about right is people who get out of the military, right? You serve and you get out, right? There's two camps of people when they get out. Okay, so I would say of the people who get out of the army or get out of any branch of the military, right? Out of the people who get out, about 70% of the people who get out would like to go back. Out of the 70 people who would like to go back, I would say 60 of them can't because they're too fucking fat. All right, that's a problem. That's a real problem. When you live that kind of lifestyle for so long, and you don't have anybody worrying about your, you know, weight and height and all that bullshit, you just kind of let yourself go a little bit. Now, I'm not saying every veteran does that, but I'm saying a lot do. You know, or even if you don't really let yourself go, you're still not meeting the standards for height and weight, right? Because you can be, you know, okay weight, but still not make tape, right? And that, so my podcast, for those of you guys that are like that and are kind of curious, you can at least see my method of what I did to get it off. But if you want to get off the weight, man, you have to be fucking serious. You have to really want it. Well, depending on how big you are. Now, if you're just like mediocrely fat, you need to lose 20 pounds. It's really not that serious. That can be done in a month or so. You know, now if you're like me, that was like 300 fucking pounds, and you need to lose 100. Now, you got to be a fucking savage to get back to a healthy weight. And so me losing the weight wasn't because I wanted to re-enlist. Me losing the weight is because I was tired of being a fat piece of shit. But with me losing the weight, I was able to make the decision to go back, and I want to. And now it's like, you pass height and weight, or you pass tape, and they're like, you can go right now. That's what I wanted to hear. You can go. Like, it's your choice. You can go right now. So it take a huge weight off my shoulders when I just talking to this guy and talking to the recruiter and knowing that I can go like at a moment's notice. So it relieves me. It gives a lot of stress off me. I'm not stressed anymore. I feel happy about this decision. I'm happy to be moving forward with it, and I think that I'm still going to be successful on the engine side, regardless whether I'm enlisted or not. So yeah, like I'm not gonna be doing any more traveling obviously this year. The SEMA plan is gone now. Like, any plans I have to travel is gone. And as far as traveling in the future for events, I guess we'll just have to see. I have to see how leave works. Alright guys, so thanks for watching this really long ass fucking personal story. I will do the podcast later on tonight, and there's also one guy I would like to do a podcast with before I leave. Rick. I would like to do a podcast with him. This guy got a lot of interesting shit going on in his life, and I would like to get that out before I go. So one more podcast after this, and then I'm not getting rid of the podcasting thing. I don't give a fuck if you guys like it or not right now. I'm going to keep on doing it. Why? Because eventually when it does pick up traction and I get more successful with YouTube, it's going to be easier to make excuses to talk to people that I really want to talk to, regardless of whether you want to see it or not. So I'm going to keep up with that. Alright guys, so thanks for watching again, and peace. I'll see y'all later tonight for some of you all, and talk to y'all in the future.